Okay, please take your seats. We'd like to get started. Okay, the meeting will come to order. Good evening. Welcome to the annual town meeting. I am Tim Goddard, your town moderator. As you know, every town meeting is called pursuant to a warrant issued by the Select Board. Hearing no objection, I will forego the reading of the warrant and begin by reviewing the return to service. I have inspected the town meeting warrant and have determined that it was properly executed by the Select Board and served by a constable of the town of Littleton. We are in session. As is customary, we'll begin the meeting with the pledge to the flag. If you'd all please rise and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We have been very lucky the past several years to have a Littleton High School student lead us in the national anthem. And she's a senior this year, so this might be our last opportunity. Mia Clements, if you'd come forward and lead us once again in the national anthem. Thank you.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Okay. Can we say something about Ryan real quick? Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay, before I get into some preliminary matters, I'd like to recognize Mark Rambacher, Chair of the Select Board.
So Ryan's last day is coming up. He's been our assistant town administrator for 3 years, I believe, and he was our interim town administrator, and I wanted to thank him for all the work he's done. He's been very instrumental in putting together the budget in this meeting, so if it goes wrong, you can boo him. But everyone, I'd like to thank Ryan for all the work he's put in.
Very good. Just a few preliminary matters before we get started. I hope everyone's checked in at the registration table as they came in. And if you didn't bring your copy of the town meeting report, you could pick one up at the registration table. Also, tonight's updated motion sheet is green, and you'll need both of those to get through tonight's meeting. And also, I hope everyone had a chance to pick up one of the handheld devices for voting or clickers as they're sometimes called. We're going to have a number of electronic votes tonight, and you'll need that to participate. If non-voters could take a seat in the right front sections as always, and remember that non-voters can't address town meeting without the permission of the moderator and the majority of the body agreeing, with the exception of town employees and consultants, which are by definition allowed to address town meeting. And please note the emergency exits, both front and rear, in the event it becomes necessary to use them. On town meeting itself, formal presentations are 10 minutes in length. Debate is 3 minutes in length, and you can't speak twice on an article if others have not spoken at least once. And we will take up no new business after 10:30 p.m. unless there's a likelihood of finishing by 11, or unless town meeting agrees to go longer than that. The guidelines for town meeting are pretty simple, common sense, and matters of courtesy. Please use the center microphone to make your comment. Wait to be recognized and state your name and address for the record. All questions must be through the moderator to whomever they're addressed to. Please use the yellow amendment sheets that were also at the registration table if you have a written amendment to any article. And obviously no rude or disrespectful remarks or direct references to anyone who's in the meeting. As far as calling the question goes, this sometimes comes up. People get impatient. But please use the microphone to do so, and make it be the only comment you make at that time. There's no giving a speech and then shutting the door behind you and saying, I move to close debate. That's not the way we do it. Town officials who wish to express personal views should identify they are speaking as individuals and not as a board member. And I think most people, I hope, have been here for the use of the electronic voting system. It's pretty simple. For each article that comes up, if you want to vote yes, you press the green or the number 1 button, and no, the red or the number 2 button, and you'll have a 20-second window in which to make your choice. You can change your mind during that 20 seconds. Just remember that the last button you push is going to be the vote that gets recorded. And we've had a few bumps in the road, but ultimately I think people have commented that they like the clickers, that it saves us a lot of time and efficiency. And please raise your hand if you're having difficulty, and we'll try to address that problem if it comes up. Okay, we've come together tonight in this civil assembly called town meeting as a community in a tradition that is older than the Commonwealth itself, older than our revolution, of which we observed the 250th anniversary this year, to make decisions about our community. As we deliberate, let us advocate vigorously for our positions, but not at the expense of others. It is possible to disagree with others agreeably, respecting our neighbors' views equally with our own. Also keep in mind that the neighbors with whom you disagree are good people too, with hopes and dreams as aspirational as your own. And let us always remember that in the end, caring for one another in this community is of far greater importance than any differences we may have. Okay, before we get to the consent agenda, and we have a rather robust consent agenda this year, I'm going to switch things up a little bit because a number of the articles on the consent agenda do have a fiscal impact. And I'm going to ask if the Finance Committee could give their financial overview for the town now before we take any official votes on any warrant articles. So with that, I'd like to recognize Steve Venuti of the Finance Committee. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Steve Venuti, Chair of the Finance Committee. We have a lot to get to in a little time, so let's get started right away. This first slide, everybody's seen this before. This is the 11th consecutive year that the town has received a AAA bond rating through Standard & Poor's. And I know this could get a little repetitious over time, but this is something that the town should be proud of. It literally saves the town millions and millions of dollars over this 11-year period in interest costs on the bonds that we've issued. So this is something that the town should really look forward to seeing at every FinCom presentation. So let's look at the FY26 budget. And you can see at the top of the slide there is more information, more detailed in the FinCom report that starts on page 4 of our booklets. I hope everyone had a chance to read it. When we started this budget season off, we had a deficit that we were looking at of $4,086,000. That's one of the largest deficits that we had to deal with. Each department's budget was vetted, first by the town administrator's office and the finance team at Town Hall, and then by the Select Board and Finance Committee. So nothing was really rubber stamped at all. We made $4.4 million in expense cuts, just to show you the level of things that we did to get to a balanced budget that we're proud to present tonight. Let's get into the operating budget now. Article 3 is the operating budget of the town. You see the budget increase of $2.9 million, or 4.85% over FY25. Of that $2.9 million, $1.9 million is the town's share of that budget. Included in that $1.9 million is one line item, the source system support. It's under the DPW wastewater stormwater expense line. It's a $1.9 million expense item for FY26, up $1.2 million from last year. That is the town's support for the construction of the source system. There's no users on the source system just yet. They have bills to pay. The town has to support the construction of that source system until residents start to hook up to that. And we're thinking that that could last for the next 2 budget cycles. Adjusting for that source system line item, the net town increase of $690,000 at 4.25%. Total school budget, including the Neshoba Tech, increased by $908,000. And I'd like to thank the school committee for their hard work in putting that budget together for us for this year. Other items in the budget only increased by $118,000, but there were 2 line items in particular that caused a lot of concern that we had. First, the debt service was good news, decreased by $1.2 million. We had a lot of short-term debt in FY25 that's being paid down or paid off, and we're seeing that decrease go into FY26. The bond for the center on Shattuck Street is being pushed to later on in FY26, so the first payment won't hit until FY27, so we're seeing a decrease in that line item for this year. However, health insurance premiums. Most of you probably saw this increase when you're dealing with your own health plans through your employers. Health insurance premiums escalated this year. Our town employees up 19.9%, our retirees 18.8%, and we're seeing an increase of $1.1 million over last year for that line item. Some other major financial articles. Article 6 is the Water Enterprise Fund. It's decreasing by $900,000 this year. There is some water main work that is being done in this current fiscal year and will disappear by next year, so that's why there's a decrease in that line item. Article 7 is the Sewer Enterprise Fund at $2.3 million. Discuss this. This is the town's contribution into the Sewer Enterprise Fund. Again, it should last for the next 2 fiscal years. Article 26, Community Preservation Budget. There's actually 3 things that happen with the CPC budget that we're going to see in Article 26. They're reserving some money to pay down some debt service on previous projects. They're allocating their revenues, and the revenues come from 2 specific sources, the 1% CPA surcharge on our tax bills, and a town contribution of $307,000 per our policy. And they're also going to allocate $391,000 to various projects that are outlined in detail in the article that we're going to have before us. There's 2 articles that withdraw funds from our stabilization accounts. Article 20 for $1.3 million replaces a 2012 fire engine. There's a 2-year lead time on that delivery. So by the time we take delivery, we're talking a 16-year-old fire engine that's already incurring major maintenance costs. Article 23, $241,000 withdrawal from a debt exclusion stabilization fund. This is taking dollars that we put aside in stabilization from inside the levy to help pay and offset the exclusion, debt exclusion items that we have currently on the town's books. There's 3 projects: the middle school, the police station, and Russell Street renovation. That debt service should last the next 4 years, but the last 2 years should be fully covered using our debt exclusion stabilization account. The next couple of slides detail a major funding source for the town. It's free cash. And you'll see what I mean when we get to the end here. Article 8, $825,000 for capital items for the departments that you see. We're paying cash for those items. Article 9, $47,000 for 2 items. The biggest one is $44,000 for the Special Injury Leave Indemnity Fund for our public safety officers. Article 19, $2.4 million deposit to our capital stabilization fund. That's to fund future projects that the town has. And we have a 10-year capital plan that was submitted by our department heads. Article 21, $2,030,000 deposit to the School Building Stabilization Fund. This is a fund that we started last town meeting. We deposited a little over $1 million. This year we're looking to put in $2,030,000. Should bring the balance up to $3.2 million. We have a goal of $6 million by the end of FY28, so we can apply those funds toward the construction of the Shaker Lane School and bring down the amount of the bond that we're going to issue. Article 22, $300,000, a deposit to the Debt Exclusion Stabilization Fund. That sets us up to fund future debt exclusion items for those 3 projects that I've just discussed before. Second page for free cash usage. Article 24 is a deposit to the General Stabilization Fund for $100,000. That's per our financial policy. Deposit to the Community Preservation Fund in Article 25 for $307,000. I mentioned that in the CPC Article 26 that we've seen. $15,000 for the Clean Lakes Committee to fund future projects that they have. And Article 32 establishes a salary stabilization fund for $250,000. I just outlined $6.3 million in spending and savings that has 0 impact on the town's operating budget. That's huge. The proper use of the town's reserves and the prudent use and having a policy around what we do is one of the major reasons why the town has a AAA bond rating. So to be able to spend $6.3 million and not have to borrow for equipment is something that we should all be proud of, that we're able to do that. If you had asked me 10, 15 years ago if we were able to fund a $1.3 million fire engine in cash, I would have said you were crazy. Of course, if we had to pay $1.3 million 10 years ago for a fire engine, I would have said you were crazy also. The next 3 years for budget forecast variances, you can see that in the middle of the screen. $1.5 million, $2.5 million, and $3 million operational deficits that we're looking at. Our expenses are increasing more than our revenue stream is by about $700,000 on average per year. That's not a way to build a sustainable budget. So those are the costs that we need to get under control. There are revenue gains, and I mentioned this in last year's presentation also. We're going to see the redevelopment of the common areas, particularly 550 King Street on the old IBM site. We just don't know when that's going to happen. We have an idea, we have a plan, we've seen plans. We don't know when that construction is going to hit. We don't know when we're able to recognize those revenues into the town. Somewhere in the next 3 to 10 years, we'll be able to start recognizing those dollars. Until then, it's not prudent for us to include those revenues in our forecasts. So when those revenues do hit, we need to take care of those operational deficits, and we need to make sure that this isn't extra money to spend we don't spend it, that's not a bad thing. Finally, the Shaker Lane School project. Some of you came early at the 6 o'clock meeting that we had to discuss the project, but for those who didn't, I'll quickly run through some of the things that we're looking for. We're just beginning the schematic design process. We're still using costs that we have from October of 2024.
Excuse me, Steve, that's 10 minutes. Can you finish up in another minute or two?
This is the last slide.
Okay, thank you.
So we're still using the $104 million cost that we have. We should be getting updated costs at the end of May, first part of June, and we'll update all the things that tax calculated that we have on the town's website, and we'll, of course, have meetings over the next couple of months to discuss what's going on with the project. The MSBA grant should be finalized by August of '25, so with that number and updated costs, we should have a very good idea of what the town's commitment will be. The beginning of April, the Select Board, Finance Committee, and School Committee signed a debt exclusion financial plan, which outlines a policy, basically, that commits the town to putting its resources towards that project to bring down the tax rate through the two sources, the School Building Stabilization Fund and that Debt Exclusion Stabilization Fund. Again, the Building Committee and School Department will be hosting meetings. I think they're on one of the handouts that were given out at the beginning of the meeting. And if we stay on schedule with the MSBA, we'll be looking for a funding authorization to take place at the fall 2026 town meeting on October 28th, with a debt exclusion ballot vote the following Saturday on November 1st. That's all I have. I thank you for your time.
Right. Thank you, Steve. And we'll now proceed to the consent agenda. And we've done this for a number of years now, and it saves quite a bit of time. And before I get to the consent agenda, I'll just mention that 3 of the articles on the warrant will be passed over. There will be no motion made on Article 2, bills of prior years. Article 13, authorize the surplus of Littleton Town Hall to allow for the development of affordable rental housing at 37 Shattuck Street. And Article 31, to fund collective bargaining agreements. So no motion will be offered on those 3 articles. They won't be part of either the consent agenda or the regular course of matters. And now I'm going to read the proposed consent agenda articles by number and title. And the idea being is that we've grouped together articles that we believe should generate no controversy. They've been part of the consent agenda in years past. They're, in some cases, financial transfers that the town's own financial policies mandate on an annual basis, so it's really not controversial in any way, and kind of a routine way for the town to do business. However, having said that, our policy is that if anyone wishes to remove an article from the consent agenda or has a question about the article, they can say hold when I read the number of that article, and we'll see if you have a question or if you truly wish to pull it off the agenda altogether, and we'll go from there. I'll read now the proposed consent agenda. Articles will be Article 1, Annual Report. Article 4, LCTV Receipts Reserved for Appropriation. Article 5, Fiscal Year 2026 Departmental Revolving Funds. 6, Fiscal Year 2026 Water Enterprise Fund Budget. 7, Fiscal Year 26 Sewer Enterprise Fund Operating Budget. 8, Fiscal Year 2026 Capital Items from Available Funds. 9, fiscal year 26, other items from available funds. 10, rescind and reallocate funding from prior town meeting votes. 11, authorize acceptance of general laws, Chapter 83, Section 15D, to apportion sewer betterments for up to 30 years. Article 18, classification and compensation plans. Article 19, capital stabilization fund. Article 21, school stabilization fund. Article 22, debt exclusion stabilization fund. 23, use of debt exclusion stabilization fund for FY26 excluded debt. 24, transfer into stabilization fund. 25, town matching funds to community preservation fund. 27, Department of Elder and Human Services revolving funds. 28, Long Lake revolving fund. 29, Clean Lakes Committee maintenance needs. And Article 30, amend articles from prior town meeting votes, which requires a 2/3 majority. And because one article requires a 2/3 majority, they all do. To be voted as a bundle, the entire package has to pass by a 2/3 vote. The vote is almost nearly unanimous, so it has not proved to be a problem in the past. So we'll take our first electronic vote, if everyone can get their devices ready. And do I hear an affirmative motion to pass Articles 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 18, 19, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 27, 28, 29, and 30 by the motions under each article as described in your warrant booklet. Okay. All right. It's been moved. I hear a second as well. Moved and seconded. We'll now go to a vote, and the vote will be either yes to approve all of those articles on the consent agenda or no. I see the vote total rising, and we haven't even opened up the, we're going to have a 20-second period for voting. We think 30 seconds is a little too long, but we're going to hopefully halt the voting. You can vote on your clickers either yes or no, and we'll give you 20 seconds to do that, starting now. Okay. All right. Has everyone voted? No, needs more time? Okay. Requires a 2/3 majority in this case to pass the items on the consent agenda. And we ready to reveal the total? And there were 223 votes in favor, 10 opposed. It passes by the necessary 2/3 majority, and I declare it a vote. Thank you very much. I think we've saved ourselves some time for this evening. You'll recall we had 33 total articles on the warrant, 3 of which there will be no motion offered tonight, and we just voted 20 of them. So we've cut things down considerably. We'll now go to, I guess, the next article technically up in the batting order is Article 2, bills of prior years. The board's indicated there are no bills of prior years, so we're going to pass over that article. Madam Clerk, please record no motion offered, no affirmative action taken on Article 2. We'll now go to Article 3, the fiscal year 2026 operating budget. You'll find that in your town meeting booklets. I'm going to, as I've done in the past, I'm going to read the line items. The proposed FY26 line item totals for every category. And again, if someone has a hold on a particular item, please shout that out so we can get that and come back to that item after we've gone through the rest of the budget. All right, we'll start under general government. Town report, town meeting, $34,800. Moderator, $100. All right, so under select board, the total, $22,300. Town administrator, $509,215. Finance committee, $1,900. Reserve fund, $397,902. Town accountant, $363,836. Assessor, $336,937. Treasurer, $371,146. Tax collector, $136,605. Town council, $280,000. Human resources, $436,194. Information systems, $712,995. Tax title, $16,000. Town clerk, $195,136. Elections and registrations, $53,300. Conservation Commission, $170,583. Planning Board, $257,350. Appeals Board, $300. Okay, land use, 0. Police Department, $2,907,292. Fire EMS, $2,978,396. Dispatch, $764,764. Building Department, $392,800. Emergency Management, $5,075. Crossing Guard 0, Canine Control, $36,018. DPW, $1,051,886. Road repairs, $1,039,500. Parks, $298,055. Snow and ice, $200,000. Okay. Transfer station, $498,972. Street lighting, $17,000. Sustainability committee, $2,000. Waste stormwater management, $1,947,340. Clean Lakes, $10,000. B&M Crossing, $3,000. Landfill closure, $130,000. Hold on landfill closure. Okay, Cemetery Department, $207,480. Health Department, $207,798. Okay. So the next total we have is Elder and Human Services, $443,202. Veterans Agent, $33,434. Veterans Benefits, $130,000. Disability Commission, $1,200. Okay. Culture and Recreation, Reuben Hoare Library, $983,298. Parks and Recreation, $248,890. Memorial Day, $1,250. Historical Commission, $4,480. Cultural Council, $5,600. Shade Tree Committee, $5,000. Other general government, Municipal Building Committee, 650. Public buildings, $1,015,589. Property and liability insurance, $583,000. Central communications, $115,000. Fuel, $187,000. Education, Littleton School Department, $26,393,579. Technical school expenditures, $897,701. Employee benefits, $10,908,330. Debt service, $3,677,254. Total transfers into the general fund, $1,130,490. Transfers out of the general fund, $1,506,726. Okay, and I think I heard one hold only. Is that correct? So we'll go back to the held item. Let's see if we can deal with that before we take a vote on everything. Landfill closure, $130,000 is the expense. Could the person that put on the hold please come to the center microphone? Yes, sir.
Giles Howe, 564 Newtown Road. The landfill was closed a long time ago. I'm wondering what this $130,000 is for.
Okay. Is the DPW director here? There he is. I'll get an answer to that for you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Stephen Yanley, Director of Public Works. Through you to the Speaker. That is a Mass DEP requirement for the post-closure monitoring of the landfill. So it's groundwater sampling, air monitoring that's done quarterly.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all set. Thank you. All right. That deals with the one hold we had on the budget. So we'll take a motion to approve a total operating budget of $64,135,155, net of transfers into the general fund of $1,130,490, for a net operating budget of $4,665. Okay, so moved, seconded. Okay, we're now going to take a vote. It's a majority vote. And obviously, green, the number one button is yes, and number two, the red is no. And you'll have 20 seconds to take that vote, starting now. Okay. Guess we're giving, what's that? No vote?
If your clicker's not working, you can go exchange it in front for another one.
We'll slide you out. Have people been able to vote on this article, generally speaking? Thumbs up? Okay. All right, we'll get that, we'll get a new clicker. What's okay? Okay. All right, we'll go to the vote total then. On Article 3, it requires a simple majority. And, okay, I don't see it yet up on my, here we go on the screen. 223 in favor, 12 opposed. It passes by the necessary majority, and I declare it a vote Thank you very much. And now we will move all the way up to Article 12, because we voted everything in between on the consent calendar, and you'll find the motions for Article 12 on your green update sheet, not in the booklet itself. You'll recall the board had two motions relative to Shattuck Street, Articles 12 and 13. They have pulled back on Article 13. There'll be no motion on Article 13, but Article 12 now has three distinct motions in front of you. And again, they require a majority vote. And I think the way we're going to handle it is we're going to put all three motions on the floor simultaneously for the purposes of debate. And then at the conclusion of debate, we're going to take a separate and distinct vote on each of the motions. So it's a little cumbersome, but I think it's easier to have a combined debate on all three motions than it is to try to separate them out. Okay, I think I've got to, I'll put these in motion before the body, then we'll have a presentation by the town administrator and others. It's been moved and seconded by the select board that the town vote to authorize the select board to petition the legislature to enact legislation precisely as follows. The legislature may make clerical or editorial changes in form only to legislation unless the select board approves amendments to the legislation before enactment by the legislature. The select board is hereby authorized to approve amendments which shall be in scope, within the scope of the general public objectives of this petition. And then you'll see two proposed sections of the special legislation, Section 1 and Section 2, that follow. And it says, notwithstanding any general or special law to the contrary, any general or special law related to the procurement and award of contracts, including chapters 7, 7C, 30B, and 149 of the general laws, except for the prevailing wage requirements under sections 26 to 27H, inclusive of said chapter 149, shall not apply to the following activities. 1, the conveyance, lease, design, development, construction, operation, and maintenance of affordable rental housing at 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton. 2, the lease of said 37 Shattuck Street by the town of Littleton for use as its town offices. And 3, the acquisition, design, development, and construction of new town offices located within the town of Littleton. And Section 2 says this act shall take effect upon its passage. Moving down the page, the motion 2, it's been moved and seconded by the select board that any expenditure of funds on the three projects identified in motions 1 and 3 can only be appropriated by vote of town meeting under a separate and distinct article. The expenditure of funds used above shall not include funds to evaluate the building at Shattuck Street, at 37 Shattuck Street, or funds used to better understand the town's requirements for a new town hall. Then we will move to the second side of the green sheet, motion 3, moved and seconded by the select board that the town vote to authorize the select board to include in the petition to the legislature authorized under motion 1 of Article 12 of this town meeting the following additional sections, and to amend any numbering as necessary, and provided further that the legislature may make clerical or editorial changes of form only to the legislation unless the select board approves amendments to the legislation before enactment by the legislature, and that the select board is hereby authorized to approve amendments which shall be within the scope of the general public objectives of this position. And you'll see 4 additional sections. Section 3, the town of Littleton may convey all or a portion of the land located at 37 Shattuck Street in the town of Littleton and the building thereon to a developer to be selected by the town for the purposes of designing, constructing, operating, managing, and maintaining affordable rental housing. Section 4, the town of Littleton may lease back from the developer, as described in Section 3, the building located at 37 Shattuck Street for use as town offices until such time as the town of Littleton has relocated its town offices to another location in town. Section 5, the town of Littleton may acquire a parcel of land with the building or buildings thereon located within the town of Littleton for use as new town offices, in which building or buildings may be designed or constructed by the seller of such property. Section 6, the development of the projects described in this act may be conducted in 1 or more phases. Those are the 3 motions. We will now have the presentation, and the town administrator, Mr. Duggan, will start things off. Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jim Duggan. I am the town administrator. A lot of information is in the handout here, and we're going to try and simplify it as easy as possible. So a couple things that I just want to point out before we get to a very brief slide deck. The goal here is the whole incentive, and the only incentive for us to do is to be able to control the ability and move forward with the creation of deeply affordable senior housing. And we'll understand what deeply affordable means in a second up here. We've gone and we've reached out to many different appropriate boards and committees, got their feedback, had a community input meeting. We've received emails, input, and questions over the past few months. The select board has made it perfectly clear that 2 things have to be consistent with the end of the night, at the end of the votes. The fact that at the end of it, we are under no obligation to do anything. We can get as far as we can as the motions will allow us to get, and we can turn around and not. Plus, the fact is, we can't do anything without coming back to you and saying, this is the information we got, here is what we're recommending based upon all the data, all the different scenarios. The other select board wanted to make sure there is no authorization to spend any money whatsoever, with the exception of having feasibility studies, cost benefits of different scenarios that we'll present to you. But through the work of our town planner, we have identified potential funding sources for that with grant opportunities. So that's the goal. So the elderly populations here in Littleton and the surrounding communities are outpacing the housing supply for seniors. And the total number of the population of the seniors will double by 2030 from 2010, going from 41,000 to over 79,000 seniors in the general area right around us. As you'll see on one of the slides, the average annual income for a senior drops substantially upon 65, upon your retirement. And what happens with that, then it's a snowball effect. Then it's a matter of, it becomes the cost burden of housing, of finding decent housing, affordable housing, and the challenges only get bigger and greater as we all get older. So everyone will benefit in the community by having this, but at some point, all of us, whether it's individually or we have family or we have friends, are going to have to consider housing options. So we'll just do a brief, if we can, okay. Why deeply affordable senior housing? By 2035, nearly 4 out of every 10 Littleton residents will be 60 or older. Most of those 75 and older will grow the most. Many seniors live in homes not well suited for aging in place. Options for downsizing are limited locally, very few apartments, condos, independent living, and assisted living facilities. Largest burden is an elderly one-person household with the lowest income, widows, widowers. So this is from a needs assessment through Elder and Human Services that was back in 2015. And for sure, as you can, and so much of the data has grown, is consistent, so that stays true. Next slide, please. Thank you. Deeply affordable units, I made that reference earlier. What we're talking about, 60% of AMI. AMI is for area median income. So what that is, so this will help the people that make 30 to 60% of area median income. As I said a few minutes ago, 65, your salary, your annual income drops substantially after you're 65, and which a lot of people will fall within that 30 to 60%, and now this housing would be eligible for them. And what we also get with a project of this size would be local preference. 70% of the units that are developed, Littleton residents. They are eligible to go through the process. It's safe and appropriate housing with modern amenities for seniors as they age. It's got required long-term maintenance and security. That would be part of a facility, and the support services on site and nearby for the seniors. You're looking at, in terms of, if it's the 37 Shattuck Street, we'd be looking at, you've got the center on Shattuck Street, and now you have the library. Next one, please. Here is the median income that we were talking about, how it drops off substantially. As you can see, in 2013, it dropped off from 65 and older from $125,000 down to almost $43,000. And as you now, 5 years later, you're looking at $140,000 down to $51,000, and then in 2023, about $197,000 to $62,000. So there's a huge difference there as people retire and they're trying to retire and enjoy. Go ahead. Thank you. Okay, to make it as simple as possible, and we have all the team here to answer any questions, a yes vote on motion number 1, it authorizes the select board to go to the state legislature to do a special act. And that special act will allow us to bypass procurement laws in the development of the deeply affordable senior housing. But it does not take away from making sure prevailing wage is paid for the construction of this. That is a big concern at the state legislature, that they would identify to make sure the prevailing wage was paid. A no vote, and if approved by the legislature, authorizes the select board to negotiate for future town meeting approval. So not until the state legislature passes it can the town talk to any developer or anybody else. We can have internal conversations in planning as we're gathering all of our data and doing the cost-benefit analysis and doing the feasibility study. That will allow us that time. If we vote no on number 1 tonight, we must comply with all the public construction and procurement laws, and the select board cannot begin to negotiate or identify the best for the town. Motion 2. So here it is that I made earlier reference. It requires future town meeting votes on expenditure of any funds, except for funds that are going to help us determine what is the best option for the town for this development. And a no vote, it's okay for the select board to fund the projects identified in motion 1 through a future budget article. Last motion, motion 3. It allows the town to partner with one or more developers for 2 projects sell and develop the town hall building at 37 Shattuck Street as deeply affordable senior rental housing, and construct and acquire a new town hall at another location within the town. And during that time, which is anticipated to be 5-6 years, the town would continue to stay at 37 Shattuck Street and will do business as usual. A no vote, the select board cannot sign a contract with anyone to redevelop town hall or acquire a new town hall without a town meeting vote that authorizes them to do so. Next slide. And questions, that's it. And I would, Chairman Rumbacher, I don't know if you'd like to say anything, but thank you. But the team is here if you have any questions.
Town Council.
Good evening, everybody. Tom Harrington, Town Council. It's nice to be with you tonight. I'm going to walk you through each motion on your green sheet and give you a brief explanation of the purposes of each. We start out with motion 1. I think what we need to understand as Jim presents this plan to you, right? I see it as a 3-phase process. Number 1 is to advertise 37 Shattuck Street for sale to be used for deeply affordable senior housing. Number 2 is to maintain the ability to lease back the town hall so that we're not caught without a town hall, so we can sell it. The developer can go do his process, but we can stay there until Project 3 is done, which is the construction of a new town hall elsewhere in town. So those are the 3 projects. I think it's important to understand we can't take step 1. Step 1 is putting out an RFP for 37 Shattuck Street. We can't do it until one of 2 things happens. Either the town declares the property surplus. It would start with a vote of the select board, but they would declare, and then you would declare 37 Shattuck Street surplus or no longer needed for town hall, so that the process of negotiation can begin and requests for proposals can begin. Instead of doing that, we've put it in a special act. So the special act allows us to avoid procurement laws and construction laws. From my perspective, it's necessary that we take that step because this is a complex project, right? We're selling something, we're then staying in that location, and we're constructing something. Procurement laws and construction laws were not designed to do kind of a 3-phase project like that. Procurement laws and construction laws were designed to do one project at a time. So when we bundle them like that, it becomes very difficult. This eases the burden on the town and allows the town to go out, the select board to go out and advertise the property for sale to see what kind of responses it might get. It does not bind the town to do anything. It just allows us to begin the process. Motion 2 is there to give you some assurances. What we've heard in our discussions coming up to this point are that the town wants to make sure that it's going to have a decision point. It's going to make the final decision on this. So we've added motion 2, which states that before the town spends any money on any of these 3 projects, right, the sale, the lease, construction of new town hall, it has to come back to you for your approval, and that approval has to be in a separate and distinct article. So there will be a specific article that asks you for the permission to spend money on any one of those 3 projects. Motion 3 gives the select board more authority in what it brings back to you. So when we look at motion 1, we're allowed to advertise it and we're allowed to take in proposals, but we really don't have the authority to do much more than that. We can consider the proposal, we can do some negotiating, but until we have the actual authority to sell town hall and to acquire land for a new town hall, we can't really get to the very fine details of the contract. So a yes vote on motion 3 which authorizes the town to do those things, sell, lease, and acquire, allows the select board to bring back to you a much more specific proposal. It's not necessary. We don't have to do anything with it, but it gives the authority. So I think the decision point for the town there is, assuming you vote yes on one and yes on two, how specific do you want the proposal coming back to you? Do you want it to be more general in nature with kind of another round of votes? Or would you like to see an actual real proposal that the select board were able to negotiate? And again, it's coming back to you for approval. They're just doing the legwork. I'll stop there and hand it over to Mark.
So I know in our conversations with people, everyone said this feels really rushed, and it is to a certain extent. But the reason it's rushed is this is a really long process. We have to get this in front of the legislature to make any actions. That process takes probably 9 to 12 months before we can do anything, before we can issue an RFP. We're 9 to 12 months down the road. After that, anyone that's been involved in negotiating RFPs knows that takes a long time as well. To do a deeply affordable housing, to apply for the tax credits and things, we've been told it's like a 2-year process. So we're just trying to move the ball along. This is a really long process. We're going to be in 37 Shattuck Street for quite a while. We designed this motion to have checks along the way so that we can come back to the town and get your permission so that we know that we're on the right track for whatever everyone agrees on. And this is just the preliminary stage of what we're doing. There will be more things coming in the future. I'll also point out, people have questioned like why the article doesn't say deeply affordable in it. That was intentional, that the special legislation doesn't call out deeply affordable. Our intent is to do deeply affordable, but we've been told that we want to leave it more open for the legislature because first, deeply affordable isn't really a term that they necessarily understand. It gives us more leeway, but the intent from the select board is what we would bring back to you will be a proposal for deeply affordable senior housing. So we're just trying to get this ball moving. Like I said, it's a long road, and we need this to get started.
Okay, is that the presentation? Oh, okay, we're well over the 10 minutes. Okay, I read, just one word. I read all three motions. All three motions are on the floor simultaneously so that there can be debate and discussion on any one of those three at this time when I open it up for discussion. And I want to remind you, please contain your comments to the specific motions that are in front of you. I know that there are some strong feelings on all sides of the issue, and I just want to encourage that we focus our comments on what we have in front of us to vote here, and we don't make anything personal or disagreeable in the debate. And I'm reminded that the Finance Committee would like a word. Yes. Mr. Venuti.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Steve Venuti, Finance Committee. At its meeting tonight prior to town meeting, the Finance Committee voted to recommend all three motions to this article. In our opinion, this does not commit the town to anything. At any point in time, in any negotiations that happen, the Select Board has the authority to walk away from this deal. If they do feel that there's a deal to be made, it has to come back to town meeting and that second motion that's on the table. So there is going to be a final say, and the final say will be by town meeting. So that's why we're recommending this article. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll open up the floor to debate. Please give your name and address. And yes, sir. Go ahead.
Dominic Ryan, 544 Newtown Road. I think the intent seems very clear, and I'm supportive of where this is all going. I think it makes sense to deal with the sort of multi-phased aspect of this. But regarding motion 1, I have a bit of confusion. because I have not read the procurement laws, but it seems like throwing out all of the procurement laws to be able to have a discussion, I mean, do all the procurement laws only just talk about being able to have an RFP and a discussion? Is there nothing more in them than that?
Town Council?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, through you to the previous speaker. The procurement laws are robust. So the procurement laws require us to have an RFP. This waives that requirement. We're still going to do it. The procurement laws require us to have the authority to sell what we say we want to sell. That's what this special act is giving us. Mostly, the procurement laws, and even maybe more particularly the construction laws, they were not designed for a complex transaction where you're looking to sell something and have a specific thing constructed there, acquire something somewhere else in town and have a specific thing constructed there, lease the first thing while the two processes are going on, and have it all tied together. The procurement laws, you know, they're there to make sure that there's not undue dealings, but they're so specific that they really focus on a single project, right? You may do this project and you will do it in this way. You may do this project and you will do it in this way, but it doesn't see the two connected, and you start inadvertently running afoul of things when you try to connect them. So that's why, in my opinion, we want to have those conditions waived other than prevailing wage. We're still going to pay prevailing wage. It's not unusual. You'll see lots of special acts from other towns doing similar things. So as soon as a town sees that it wants to do something like this at this level, kind of the standard town council response is, all right, let's get you a special act so that we're not going to inadvertently run afoul of those laws. We're still going to use probably 95% of them because they make sense and they're good business.
Okay, so just to be clear, undue dealings would now be possible when you waive this.
Actually, I would say no, they wouldn't.
That's my point. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Yes, sir?
Ed Foltz, 619 Newtown Road. You've done a great job writing this. Nowhere in here does it say we don't want to do it at all. This says we have no choice. Again, you come to town meeting with all your ducks in line, basically telling us, the voters, you don't have a choice. You have to do this. Now, having that given to you, that crog down your throat, what do you want to do? Well, personally, I think we're spending enough money right now. You're going to come in the fall with a $100 million boondoggle of a school. Now you want us to spend money building a new town hall, selling this property, so that some developer, which by the way it says whatever property we buy, the developer that owns that property is the one that's going to build it. It says in here, I can't put my finger on it right now, but it said that they will be the person building. I just don't understand why it has to happen now. I agree with the comments, Mark, sorry, Mr. Rambacher, that you noted that it feels rushed because I get everybody wants affordable housing for the seniors. This doesn't say that that's the case. We've already seen projects that didn't explicitly say what we want, AKA King Street IBM building, that ended up going in a completely different direction. Now, I appreciate we want to be careful, we want to protect ourselves, but I just don't see at this point that we're paying off all kinds of projects still. We haven't even, I don't even think we've fully paid off Shaker Lane yet, although it's very close. And, you know, my budget has no room to give. I'm sorry, I can't give another farthing. And I'm sure there are many other people, many other seniors in town who are in the same boat as me, that my taxes are high enough, I'm not seeing any immediate need for this. You know, the comment about it's going to take 9 to 12 months to get through the legislature. Well, it takes 9 to 12 months. Big deal. You know, the legislature is slow. It also takes 9 to 12 months to get through some of our boards. So my biggest concern is, how do I say no? Because you didn't give me that option. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, if I can respond to that?
Yes.
Actually, you can say no. We can vote no on everything, and we just push the senior affordable housing. We don't, what we're doing here is, there's an opportunity for us to take control and do this. Yes, it is 9 to 12 months at the state legislature, but to develop deeply affordable senior housing, the developer has to, one of the developers, if there's a partnership, one of them has to be a developer that has experience, successful track record at the state level for eligible for low-income housing tax credits. And those are eligible for projects. That process could take 3, 4, 5 years. It's kind of like the MSBA situation that you all learned tonight. It was back, I think it was 2022, when the original submission statement of interest, was put in. And it's taken a few years because the MSBA only has so much money to work with every state. I mean, every year. So that's the same thing here. Apply that projects will get approved. It's a matter of it's a matter of timing of when. And so, but that could take many, many years. We are doing our homework here. It's not costing. We don't know what the final cost is going to be whatsoever. We want to have the real numbers before us to be able to make a decision to move forward. It obligates us to nothing. We can't spend any money beyond what I've already outlined with areas. Let's have the data before another decision is made. That's all we're doing here.
Okay, just a second, sir. Town Council?
Yep, again, Tom Harrington, Town Council. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Through you to the previous speaker. Thank you for the question. This special act would not require us to strike a deal with a single developer. We can do it any way we want. We can have one developer for one project and another for another. The developer can be the same for both or anything in between. It does not obligate us to work with anyone on any project.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, Michael Caldwell, 5 Croft Circle. Question on motion 1 and motion 3. I've heard passionate speaking tonight about deeply affordable senior housing, those 4 words, deeply affordable senior housing, but the motion calls for affordable housing. That leaves it wide open. You could drive a truck through that. So if the motion is intended to provide deeply affordable senior housing, I heard a comment that the deeply affordable is difficult to define, but senior is not hard to define. Change the motion to call for affordable senior housing if you want our support. Why can't that be changed?
Is that a motion, sir?
I guess, yeah, I would move then, if I was asked the question, can we change it? I would move that we change the language to say affordable senior housing.
The board. Okay, where would you insert it, sir?
Sorry, my first time speaking at the town meeting. So you're asking me, will I ask you to insert that in the motion?
No, I'm asking you where you'd like it inserted in the motion.
Well, in motion 1, it says an act relative to certain affordable housing in the town of Littleton. So I think that would be to certain affordable senior housing. And in motion 3, section 3, affordable rental housing would be affordable senior rental housing. And I think that may be it. And I'll say in a catch-all, anywhere else that it says affordable housing, to add senior to it.
Okay. So, Council, you want to?
So thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'd like to respond to the comment first, and then if you can come up and just show me where you want me to insert it, and I'll insert it. But so a couple of things, and I'll look to Judy Barrett on this. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we have a definition from the state of senior housing.
Through you, Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
There are different definitions of senior. Some of them are over 55, some are over 62. For the programs that you're talking about, it's over 62, and it includes people who are not senior but also have permanent lifelong disabilities. So it's both.
So does that mean there is a definition?
It would not be less than 55.
No, but it's just, if I understood,
So-
I'm supposed to address the moderator. If I understood there was a question raised about whether there was a definition of quote-unquote senior, and it sounds to me like there is a definition.
It depends on the program to which the developer is applying.
Okay, and this
The
one-
youngest age would be 55.
But so in this situation, do we have a definition of senior?
You don't need one, but if you want one, I guess you can insert it. It's up to you.
So the problem is, again, Mr. Moderator, through you to the previous speaker, this is special legislation that's going to the legislature. So they're not applying the rules of the programs that we want to develop this program under. So if we put in senior, either they're going to strike it, which is their right, or they're going to want it defined. I think the reason we want to leave it this way is twofold. One, it gives us the authority to set that limit in town at the time after the developer goes, right? So the developer needs to go through a lengthy process to get the tax credits. So we want to make sure that we're lining up with whatever he gets tax credits for. I don't want to inadvertently tie our hands in this and have to come back to town meeting and say, we put senior in there in 2025. The process is now 3 years later, and we need to amend that because it doesn't mean what it meant back then because the developer has gone through this. I think the town wants to maintain control of that. I appreciate the sentiment, and ultimately we'll do what town meeting wants us to do, but if you're asking for my advice, I would not insert senior in there because it can inadvertently tie our hands in a way that we don't want. It's the same reason we didn't include deeply affordable. We know we want to do that, but the legislature doesn't have a specific way that it defines that, and by inserting it, it can inadvertently tie our hands. And I'll go back to my original comment. Town meeting is going to have the last say here. I think at that point in time, if you want to start putting in definitions at that point in time, to me, it's a much cleaner path. Doing it right now, I fear that, we're 6 months in, we need to amend it, and now we're going to kick ourselves out at another 9 months because the words we inserted didn't work out the way we wanted them to.
Okay, what would you like to do, sir?
I'm happy to leave it as it is. We'll see what the sentiment is in the town.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Yes, sir.
George Sanders, 672 Great Road. Mr. Moderator, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, I've been working on these two articles for some time. And let me give you the straight poop here as to what's going on here as far as I am concerned. One, I talked to the select board chair and the vice chair 2 hours on Article 12. And they desire Section 4 of the original warrant. They wanted that passed and sent to the legislature because Jim Asirio, the rep, said, if you get it to me by October this year, I'll get it on the calendar so that they can work on it when the new section starts in 26. That is what I agreed with those two people in that meeting of 2 hours in Dunkin' Donut on 220 Great Road. And I also talked to Mr. Rambacher on Saturday about this article. I told him that I would talk to the people and ask the people to support motion 1, and only motion 1. And he said to me that it didn't bother him one way or the other where motion 3 got passed. And I told him I'm going to tell the people on the town floor, because when I did my TV show, I told you that I would speak on this when I got the language of what the amendment was. It is a very worthy and detailed amendment. They're taking that 2 pages for Article 12, and Article 13 is included in the third motion. No wood going to be pulled over our eyes here tonight. with regards to this. You asked to get motion 1 to the legislature. That's what I asked you, ladies and gentlemen, here tonight, to vote for Article 1, to put it through, because that's what they want, because they said, we have plenty of time to come back, and it's not necessary in the original warrant, Section 1, Section 2, and Section 3 at that time. So I agreed to it. I said, okay, I'll throw the support behind it and tell the people, come on, let's do this. And I said to you tonight, they're trying to pull wool over your eyes? Vote down 2 motion and vote down 3 motion. Only pass motion 1 because that is what they wanted and that's what we're going to give them.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on a second, Select Board.
Just for clarification here, the motion 1, section 1, is what effectively was section 4 in the printed booklet, and sections 3, 4, 5, and 6 were 1, 2, 3, and 4. We didn't actually, we added motion 2, actually Friday, to try and make for more transparency. But we didn't actually add 3, 4, 5, 6. They were already there. We just rearranged it to make it easier to vote on these things independently.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Andrea Curran, Middlesex Drive. I have no problem with deeply affordable housing. I just object to it being in the Shattuck Street School building. I feel like this is another one of those town projects that is assumed by the powers that be to be a good idea, insisting that we're not committing to anything yet. We're just doing this study and that study and paying for these studies. Then eventually it's, well, we've already sunk all this money into the studies, we might as well continue with the project. The Shattuck building is historic, a school for generations of Littletonians, and it still serves the town well as the town offices. I remember we got some state commendation a while back from the state for fixing the Russell Street School rather than tearing it down. The Shattuck building is a good, sturdy building. The new center was built to be near everything, the library and the town offices. You can pay your tax bill, pick up a library book, and use the gym at the center, all in one trip. I think it would be a colossal waste of money to sell the building and then lease back so that the town offices can stay there, construct a new town hall, pay to move everything into it. It's cheaper to stay put. In one of the informational blurbs about the project, it said that there was funding available to bring historic buildings up to code, so let's use it. Putting 40 units that need parking places is ridiculous. We'll need to have a new parking lot. Where? The ball field? Then we'll need a new ball field, et cetera, et cetera. I went to the presentation about this last month, and there was a statistic mentioned where most older people wanted to stay in their own homes. But guess what? We can't afford to do so because our taxes are so high because of projects like this. It seems like every town meeting involves some piece of property that will accommodate affordable housing. Taylor Street, IBM, the Mill. Put units at one of these places and leave the Shattuck Street building as it is. Let's not even start this ball rolling.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Leslie Shaw, Brandy Hollow. You all have designed a very convoluted process, and now we're told that we have to do this because it's complicated. If you're so worried about senior income and ability to age in place, I agree with the previous speaker. Why don't you reduce taxes on seniors? I retired and my income was reduced, but my taxes keep increasing. Now, pretty much doubled from when we moved here in 2011. You've got a relatively new police station, fire station, library, that King Street property that you bought, which cost a lot more to renovate than initially projected. New senior center, the sewer is ongoing. Lots of affordable housing that is supposed to be going in on the 2 sites that the previous speaker referenced. School in process, forecast to cost about an additional $1K per household. We need to stop spending so much money until we get some of these other projects completed and see where we can go.
Thank you.
Jared L. Peoria, New Estate Road. I can see, it's an admirable goal, senior housing. I can also see about 10 different ways this can go very bad. For starters, you sell the building, you lease it back. By the time you're done getting out, you've paid the developer more in lease funds than you ever received in the first place. The second possible problem, you build the units. Today they're affordable. Well, a stroke of a pen, and poof, they're market rate condos. I've seen this happen with a number of the 40B projects. So we need to be sure that if we're going to build these units, that they stay what we want to build. The only saving grace for this really is motion number 2, which allows us as voters to have final say on this. Otherwise, I can see this being very scary.
Okay, thank you. Yes, please.
Good evening, Janine Wood, 12 Christina Street. Mr. Moderator, in regard to motion 1, we're being asked to vote to set up the town to not have to follow state law. My question to the panel is this a situation that towns have been able, that the legislature has okayed for towns in the past? I know that our votes here go to the Attorney General. Has the Attorney General okayed this for other communities?
Town Council.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Tom Harrington, Town Council, through you to the previous speaker. So the Attorney General would not approve this. The Attorney General only approves bylaws that we pass. They don't look at our other votes. I will say that there are many other communities that have done something very similar to what we're doing. We didn't invent this language, we borrowed it.
Okay.
So this is, as I was saying earlier, in a situation where we're looking to do kind of 2 projects that are connected, it's much cleaner to do it with a special act so that we're not bound by certain components of procurement laws. But again, we will be using the procurement process and complying with probably 95% of the procurement laws, because that's the way we do things. It just, you can run afoul in situations like this where you wouldn't intend to run afoul.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Okay.
Mr. Moderator, may I, could I just jump
Sure.
on the, thank you very much. Through the moderator, for the previous speaker, sir, that mentioned about the affordability staying in place, and it turns around, it becomes market rate. To go through the process for the affordable housing tax credits, it is whichever level that we want it to be at, 65 and older, 55 and older, 62 and older, whichever level we recommend that we want it at, it stays like that in perpetuity by law, okay? And the other thing about you talking about leasing the building back, well, that's part of the negotiation with the select board that will give us the opportunity to have that data and sit here and say, this is what it would cost us annually to lease it back. And I would like to, so we'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, Peter Scott, Scott Road, Napoleonville. Loss of the use of our building. I agree with a number of the people that spoke before, so I try not to be redundant. But the loss of a centrally located historic public asset, the town hall at 37 Sadek Street, is a public building already and serving the town well. Selling it means permanently giving up a valuable, centrally located municipal property the town may not be able to reacquire or replace in the same convenience, visibility, or the historical value. The unclear costs of the funding, the article authorizes major real estate transactions and development without clearly identifying the total cost to taxpayers. You got to pass the bill before you see what's in it. It's kind of like Obamacare. Well, the motions say that any spending would require a future vote. Approving the plan now opens the door to future financial obligations that could be substantial. There's no firm cost estimate for a new town hall or for leasing back the current space, as was spoken earlier. Lack of a specific replacement plan, the town is being asked to approve getting rid of its existing government building before a concrete plan for a new one takes its place. No specific site, design, or cost has been confirmed for a new town hall. It's a risky move that could lead to delays, costs, overruns, or inadequate replacement facilities. Temporary disruption and long-term uncertainty leasing back the building from a private developer, it's a temporary patch, not a solution. If plans for a new town hall are delayed or fail to materialize, town government could be left without a permanent home or forced to pay high leasing costs. Again, spoken to earlier. Weak public engagement and oversight, major changes to civic infrastructure should come with broad public input and a fully developed plan, not what you're showing us. This proposal, though it includes future town votes for funding, effectively gives away control of a public building without significant public oversight of what comes next. Other ways to create affordable housing, well, affordable housing is an important goal. There are others, less disruptive ways to create it. Sacrificing the town hall is not the only way to meet housing needs and could set a precedent for giving up critical public asset to private developers. I don't know how else to put it to you, but the entire thing smells awfully bad. I wonder what the door fee is. Thank you.
Thank you. Select Board?
So just to be clear, what we're effectively voting on is the equivalent of a feasibility study. If we were going through the normal process that we do the...
Is it our practice to allow the proponent to respond to every comment? Because that hasn't been our historical practice.
I think the select board member wanted to respond, and I think, you know, as leaders of the town, they've got the right to do that. No, you don't, sir. You got to get to the microphone, which you did, and you gave a compelling argument, and that's it. Now it's over. So, yes, go ahead, Mr. Romberger.
So, as I was saying, we're effectively asking for the right to do a feasibility study. We're not asking for the next phase yet. We're not asking for the town to approve any money for the design or construction of anything. That will be in a future phase. Everyone's correct. We have no idea what this would cost. It might be zero, it might be millions. If it's millions, we might not do it. We're going to bring everything back. All we're asking is the right to do the feasibility study in the first place. Without the feasibility study, we can't make progress. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Amy Tarla Lewis. I'm at Omega Way. I think one of the things that you're hearing is that people here don't trust people in front of us. And I think that's been made pretty loud and clear. My question to you is, has the town made any informal or formal discussions with Sal Napoli? He seems to be a big presence in town and seems to be owning a lot of
Do you have comments specific to the motions that are on the floor?
Yeah, I mean...
That's what we're talking about.
I can't ask a question?
Ask a question.
I just did. I'm wondering if anyone has talked formally or informally to Sal Napoli.
Yeah, I'm going to say the question's out of order because we're discussing the motions in front of us.
Okay. So I guess my question is, well, my frustration is we have built a lot of housing in town that was supposed to be affordable, and it wasn't made affordable in perpetuity. And so we have this like 10% line we're supposed to meet, and then we build affordable housing, and then it gets sold to be a market rate unit, and then we have to build out more units. It's just like we do this like rotation of like letting people build things that are affordable, but we don't make them in perpetuity, and we get like stuck in this cycle. And I feel this is a little disingenuous because I don't feel like town has really had a commitment to affordable housing or senior housing. And I recognize that people who are seniors are on fixed incomes, and I completely understand that, and housing is difficult for them. But I would also like to point out that housing for people like myself, you know, it's getting more and more inaffordable for families like us who are making incomes, who are getting, raises and adjustments and all of those things. Like for myself, I have kids going to college. Like, how am I supposed to pay for college and then pay for all this stuff? Like, I have things on my own house I need to fix. So I can't make comments and I can't ask questions. So this does really seem like democracy is falling apart here.
Thank you very much. I'll recognize the town planner, Madam Toohill.
Thank you very much, Maureen Toohill, Town Planner. Through you to the previous speaker, just want to clarify that the town has not lost any affordable units to become market rate units. That has not happened. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
Hello,
please.
Sandra Clyde, 12 Walnut Trail. I applaud all of you for your hard work. I know it's been a lot of work for you, and going through all of this and dividing up all the motions and all of that. I do still feel like I did speak at the April 9th meeting, and I still feel like we're being duped a bit in pulling at our heartstrings by keep saying deeply affordable senior housing, when if it's subsidized housing, only 70% can be guaranteed for Littleton people. And if that 70% is not filled by Littleton people, it will be filled by other people. And so at this point in time, with the way our world is going, I don't think it's time for us to go to the legislature. Why not wait another year? Why push this through? I know it's going to take them 9 months to a year to get it done, but that doesn't mean we have to jump on that boat right now. We can wait. We can wait another year. And then if that goes well, great. But at this point, I'm pretty sure that the big developer here in town that just had a big grand dig has to put 10% affordable housing in. So let him put that affordable housing in at 550 King Street. And when he develops 410 Great Road, let him do it there as well. Let us keep our town hall the way it is, where it is, and when we have to bring it up to code, let's spend our money wisely and bring that building up to code and allow our community to actually use that building. We have many Boy Scout troops, Scout troops, Girl Scout troops, 4-H groups that could actually use some empty space rather than having to beg the library or any other building in town, all the churches, for a space. We could actually let them use that space for their one-night meeting a week. So I'm asking the town right now to vote no on all of these motions, to put it off for at least another year. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Mary Beth McKenzie, Green Needles Road. I'd just like to speak on the choice or the proposal to remove the public procurement process. And I have a background in procurement and would strongly recommend that the town not support that. One of the key concepts of public procurement is transparency and a public process. And while I appreciate the statement that we will try to and follow a substantial portion of those laws, I think unless the town has clarity in terms of how those laws will or will not be followed, I'm not sure that this is the right motion to put forward at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Cindy Napoli, Springfield Drive. I just wanted to comment on Article 12 and Motion 3 being brought forward this evening, and the Select Board Chairman, Mr. Rombacher's comment that voters are just being asked to approve a feasibility study through this motion. The Select Board in 2022 issued an RFI, which is a request for information, to ask the public, developers, specifically nonprofit developers, for information about how to best move forward with the possibility of converting Town Hall to affordable senior housing, because as a board, I was a member of the board at that time, we didn't know the best way to go forward. We didn't know the path. In response to that RFI, we received 4 proposals. One from Metro West Collaborative Development, one from Maloney Properties, one from the Coalition for a Better Acre, and the 4th was from Lapoli Companies. The select board had scheduled a meeting to discuss those RFIs, but the board wasn't prepared to do so, so we didn't. That was over 2 years ago. So I'm a little amiss, I don't even know if that's the right word, that this motion is now being brought forward tonight, especially I think motion 3, that's part of Article 12. I feel like we skipped a step. I think it would be really beneficial if the select board had actually revisited the RFI proposals that we had received and educated the public on other options that we have about the possibility of creating affordable housing at Shattuck Street, and let the public decide at that time, is this something we even want to pursue? But we weren't given that opportunity. Instead, we have what's before us this evening, which speaks to subverting procurement laws, which personally I have a problem with, making a deal with an unknown developer to take over Town Hall, build us a new Town Hall, and as previous speakers have stated, we have no guarantees, we have no numbers before us. How much is it going to cost to build a new Town Hall? How much is it going to cost to temporarily relocate offices? What's the lease going to cost? Is it a 100-year lease? There's just too many unknowns with Article 12 and Motion 3, actually all the motions. So I personally am not in support of Article 12 whatsoever, and I'm asking voters to vote no on this article. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Charles Howe, 564 Newtown Road. I'm a little confused because I believe the selectman said that there was supposed to be a feasibility study. I see nothing in any of these motions of feasibility study, so I'm a little confused on that. Also, with the procurement thing, adjusting the laws, it's kind of interesting if you look at the development at King Street. There's already a town hall building in the development portion that they submitted to the planning board. So it almost looks like it does smell a little bit like we've already got a backroom deal already done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So just to be clear, what I said is we're entering the equivalent of a feasibility study, not that this is a feasibility study. This is effectively the same phase as we would be doing.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Charlotte Russell, 73 Foster Street. I came here kind of confused about how these 3 motions work together in this article, and I think it's been clarified that either it's we're voting for a feasibility study or something similar to a feasibility study. So now it seems very simple. If we don't want a feasibility study and we think the town hall should remain as it is, or we want more information, then we should just vote no on everything.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi there. I'm Marge Payne, Gristmill Road, Littleton, current chair of the COA Council on Aging Board. And good evening. All of you have heard again tonight that this issue about, and I want to clarify again, we're talking about rental properties and not purchasing homes. And there is a difference. We're talking about highly affordable rental units. And we know now today, and we know, it was mentioned earlier, this is over 10 years since we've been told that we have a huge need in this town. And it's been set aside. The time has come to not set it aside any further. You know, postpone for a year, postpone for another year. When we know it's going to take 5 or 6 years to even get going on anything. The work has to be done. And with research, and as they've explained, quite thoroughly, I think, tonight. We now know in Littleton that we have 265 families living on an income of $30,000 or less. Now, seniors need to be able to downsize their living space.
Could you please move closer to the microphone so
Oh.
everyone can hear you? Thank you.
Sorry.
No.
I thought I
Quite all
was
right.
close enough. So, seniors need to be able to downsize, and that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about, maintaining a house. They have to maintain their property if they can, but they can downsize if there's a place to go. They need to be able to do it and stay in Littleton. And it's going to take about 5 or 6 or 7 years to even make much progress in this whole thing. So, back in April, the COA board voted, just to let you know where we were on this, we voted yes to support. It was Article 12 and 13 at the time. It's all been changed now, but that gives you a hint about where the COA board stands. So I am here today just to say, please at least get the ball in motion. At least do that tonight. What is the harm going to be, as they have so clearly explained to us? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, yes, ma'am?
Hi, Erica Podgorny, 6 Fox Lane. I've heard lots of people tonight say that they need more information, that there's no information here. We don't know how much the lease is going to be. We don't know how much the cost is going to be. This is how we find out. So if we don't pass this, they can't talk to anyone to get the costs to find out how much it would cost us. So if you want to know and you want to find out what it's going to cost us, then we need to pass this. And I don't know how else to explain it.
Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, Emily Bender, 85 Whitcomb Avenue. I'm just wondering if we have explored other options for senior housing that's not the Shattuck Street building, and why we're focused on the Shattuck Street building for this.
Town Administrator?
As I had mentioned earlier, we want to be able to take the lead and move this as quickly and be in control of that and going forward. This is the only property we have available to suit this size of a project. There's no other town property. It would all be private. It would all be private, but we want to be able to do it this way. Okay?
Okay, thank you. All right. Go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Moderator. Mike Mazzoni, 17 Delaney Drive. I just want to follow up on the question from the previous speaker. Presumably there's a location available for the new town hall, and so what locations have been considered and why have they been excluded for the senior housing that we're proposing at Shattuck Street? If we're going to explore, while paying a lease year over year and exploring new locations for a new town hall, presumably one exists out there. Why has that location already been excluded for senior housing, and presuming that it's better for a new town hall rather?
Well, we thought it was the best be the best location. We would have a seniors. We've got the center on Shattuck Street. We have the library there. It is the most central for that, and it's town-owned land. So if there's a potential location we're going to be moving to, that's not necessarily going to be public land.
Yeah, for a number of reasons, I think the winds are blowing against these provisions, and I could not endorse the town to vote against this more because, as somebody who's 35 years old and I've been through a lot of projects here, I've lost faith that the town can execute such a complicated project that involves multiple parties over multiple time. So to take a historic building that's there with all of these, hopes down the line, I think it's a huge mistake. I think we've got a lot of other projects that take priority, and while I have nothing but empathy for the seniors who are struggling for housing, this feels like a massive mistake that we're going to be looking back 5 years from now. So I encourage everyone to vote no.
All right, thank you. I think
I just have a question
The
about...
last one, go ahead.
Oh, is it? I wanted to find out, it's more point of order than anything else. Could you confirm, if we vote no on all three of these things, nothing will happen? We're not committing to spending money, we're not committing to feasibility studies, we're not committing to going to the legislature, essentially, it takes it off the floor. Is that accurate? And if it's not accurate, is there a way for us from the floor to withdraw the article?
It is the board's article, so it's not for the body to withdraw it. I guess I'd ask council if the vote is negative, that nothing would go forward. Is that correct?
So there's three motions here.
Right.
If you vote no on all three, then the town can't go for the special legislation.
Yeah.
And the town, under motion 2, would not need to come back under a separate and distinct article if it
I'm
wished
just
to
asking
do
if we-
something. May I answer?
Sure, I'm sorry. Just,
That article, that second motion, really goes to the first article, right? So if you don't pass the first article, the second motion is not that useful. You could vote up or down.
all right, so is the answer to my question, if we vote no on all three, the article effectively goes away? All right, I just want to make sure, because I don't
If
want
you-
to have us all vote one way or the other, and then find out tomorrow, oh, well, the selectmen have now put it out for an RFP. You know?
So
That's all.
I'm sorry, Mr. Moderator, through you to the previous speaker. As I said at the beginning,
Sure.
the town cannot put out an RFP to sell a building
Right.
without that building being declared surplus by town meeting or without the special act. We can't
Okay.
start that process.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir?
Yeah, hi, Mark Gerton, 7 Mannion Place. One of the earlier questions mentioned that there was a RFI that had originally been done a few years ago. I'm curious, what's the difference between what we're asking permission to do now versus that RFI? And what are we expecting to, what is the additional information we're expecting to get that will help us to make a decision on how to move forward? Because I'm just not familiar with that process.
So we, as was mentioned, we put out an RFI. We got 4 responses. They talked about what they could do with the property. There was no, I don't believe at the time there was any talk about what we were doing with Town Hall. So that was part of it. It's also 2.5 years old, so who knows what's changed. I don't think there was really talk about the financing or the processes involved. It was just more like a big vision of what could happen.
Okay. Is there a reason why we can't do that process again to get more detailed information? Or would it be unlikely to get a realistic response from anybody if we didn't go through a more rigorous RFP process?
It would be unlikely we get anything different than we got the first time.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Kate Jacobson, 14 Walmasett Trail, asking on my own behalf. Is there a reason why we need a new town hall? I think that's a piece I'm missing. Is it out of code? Is it too small? I think some of that information might help us as well. If it was stated tonight, I missed it, but I think we have this whole debate going on, and I think the root for me is really, is this needed? And how badly is it needed? And I think that will help some people decide, is this a decision I want to make tonight? Or is this a decision to move forward? Separate from affordable housing for seniors, I think a big piece of the pie, the puzzle, is town hall. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Town administrator?
The main goal, as I said when I first got here earlier this evening when I started speaking, was the priority here is the senior affordable housing. It's not a new town hall. We could, you know what? It's the only option we have that we can control and accelerate the process because it is such a lengthy process. If we let someone else move forward to develop the senior affordable housing, it will be years and years. But this way, we bring it to the front of the line, we're in control of it, and we can make sure we can do it according to what we want. Bringing everything and the proposals back to you, not spending a dime or making a commitment to anything unless coming back to you, knowing what it's going to cost for a lease payment while we're waiting, understanding what the total cost is going to be across the board. And we may surprise you, but we won't know that unless you give us the opportunity to go through that process and find out and bring back the data. That's the main goal here, is deeply affordable senior housing. Bottom line, we could be in a tree house. We don't care where we operate out of. That's the whole goal here, and we're able to control that destiny. That's important for us to be able to do as a community. Control what's in the best interest of us, of our seniors. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move.
But to more specifically answer your question, we did a feasibility study on the town hall 3, 4, 5 years ago. I don't remember exactly. 7 years ago. The building isn't. If we do work to the building, it will require major renovations to bring it up to code. It doesn't have sprinklers. It doesn't have ADA elevators. I believe it has asbestos in it in different places. If we do work to the building, there will be a major cost to bringing it up to code. Now, we can play around the edges before we have to do that major renovation potentially. We could live in town hall for some period of time before we're going to trigger those, but it's not forever.
Okay, we're now going to move to a vote on motion 1. So using your handheld devices, you can vote. I think you get it by now. Green is and number 1 is yes, and red number 2 is no. And this will be to approve motion 1 under Article 12, as read earlier by the moderator. You'll have 20 seconds now to vote yes or no on that motion. Thank you. Okay, I think we've all had time to vote, and let's see what the totals are. I think there were 86 votes in favor, 143 opposed. Motion 1 fails. And okay, we're going to take a motion to postpone. Indefinitely postpone. All right. Rather than move forward with votes on motions 2 and 3, the Select Board would like to move to indefinitely postpone the balance of Article 12. That would essentially kill Article 12 for this town meeting. It could come back in the future, but it would be a new article, new town meeting. It doesn't carry over. It would come to an end tonight. So, it's been moved. Do I hear a second? Okay. We'll take a voice vote on this. All those in favor of a motion to postpone indefinitely consideration of Article 12, please say aye. And those opposed? No. Okay, the ayes have it, and it is indefinitely postponed. Thank you very much. Did someone say they doubted the vote? Well, if we can get 7 people to doubt the vote, we'll take a new, yeah, exactly. So So whomever doubts the vote, if you please stand so we can see if there are 7 of you at least. Always 1, 2, 3, 4. I see 4, 5. Yeah, I think. Well, let's do the vote anyway while we're waiting for that 7th person to get the courage up to stand and question the vote. We'll do a 20-second round of voting. A yes vote would be to indefinitely postpone Article 12, and a no vote is to not postpone, and I guess we continue with Article 12. So in the next 20 seconds, please vote yes or no to indefinitely postpone consideration of Article 12. Okay. I think that's enough time. Can we have a total on that? So we have 170 votes in favor and 58 opposed. The motion passes by the necessary majority. The article is indefinitely postponed. Thank you very much. All right, the next article that comes up in the batting order would be Article 13, which the board told you they would pass over and not offer a motion on at the beginning of the evening. So no motion having been offered for Article 13, Madam Clerk, please record no affirmative action was taken on Article 13, which then brings us to Article 14. And, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot my earlier. Well, we'll take a 5-minute recess. Let people who want to leave, and people that just want to stretch their legs or get a drink of water. So we'll take a 5-minute recess. We're going to start with Article 14 to transfer the care, custody, and control of Lot 107-A at the Nagog Hill Orchard to the Conservation Commission. This requires a 2/3 majority vote. And the motion is moved and seconded by the Conservation Commission that the town vote to approve Article 14 as printed in the warrant. You'll see in your town meeting report the Conservation Commission recommends this article. The Select Board voted earlier this evening and supports the article by a 4-to-1 vote, and the Finance Committee made no recommendation. And I'll now turn it over to Mr. Gerbig for the presentation by the Conservation Commission.
Evening, everyone. Chase Gerbig, co-chair of the Conservation Commission. I'm going to try and speed run this a little bit because I think we've got some other things to get through tonight, but certainly we'll take questions afterwards if you have them. What we're talking about is the transfer of a portion of a piece of property that the town owns that is adjacent to Nagog Pond off of Nagog Hill Road. That portion of the property is the hatched little piece that you see in that. If you'll flip, in the interest of speed running this, flip to the 3rd slide here, because we're just going to get into it. So this is the figure that's in your meeting packet, but it's highlighted to show you the portion of the property that we're talking about. And so right now, the town owns all approximately 20 acres that's in this sort of roughly triangular shaped wedge, both the white portion and the yellow portion. What we're talking about is transferring the yellow portion to the care, custody, and control of the Conservation Commission for conservation and passive recreation purposes. So there are a couple of things sort of embedded in that I want to make sure everyone understands. The first piece is the town already owns this land. To make it more explicit, we're not talking about a cost. There is no dollar value involved. The town owns this. We're simply transferring it from general municipal purposes to conservation purposes. The second piece that I want to note here is that if you're familiar with this area, you know that this is in the general vicinity of the orchard. This piece of property is not part of the agricultural APR land that is associated with the orchard. This piece of property was owned by the Morrisons. The town acquired it at the same time that they acquired the agricultural land that is sort of in the general vicinity, but this land doesn't have any restrictions on it. This land currently in general municipal control could in principle be used for anything, which gets to why the Conservation Commission wants to take over the southern portion of this land, this yellow piece of property. So we're taking it over, we're asking for your leave to take it over for conservation and passive recreation purposes, and that's really twofold. The first is the conservation piece. So a huge chunk of this yellow portion of land is essentially all wetlands. It's also right immediately adjacent to Nagog Pond. It's, for all intents and purposes, unbuildable, except for maybe right by the edge of the road. It's sort of the ideal land for conservation to take over, particularly because it's got some, let's say, invasive species issues that need to be managed. Essentially, managing it is right in our wheelhouse. The other piece of this is the passive recreation, right? Your Conservation Commission has two missions, conservation and passive recreation. This really checks both of those boxes. It's immediately across the street from Sarah Doublet Forest. And so what we envision long-term is the same thing that we envision for other conservation lands, making this available for public use, hiking trails, and so on. And so at the end of the day, if you agree to transfer this to the Conservation Commission, we will essentially manage it in the same way that we manage our other conservation lands. It will be publicly accessible, so on and so forth. It will look just like what you expect other conservation lands to look like. I think the last piece to note here is that to the extent that you've been paying attention to the processes, the select board not only supported the article, but also had to vote to make this land surplus so we could take it over. So there was a vote a handful of weeks ago that the select board voted so that we could take over this southern portion of the land. The last piece I want to note, and this has come up a few times, so maybe I'll preemptively answer this question, is why is the Conservation Commission not taking over the northern portion of the land? That piece of property has some buildings on it. Essentially, as Conservation Commission, we know what we do well, and what we do well is manage open space conservation land. What we don't necessarily do well are manage buildings and structures. And so right now this property is split, so the southern land would come to the Conservation Commission. The northern piece of that triangular wedge would stay in the care, custody, and control of the select board for general municipal purposes. I think I'm going to stop there, and we'll just take any questions if there are any.
Okay, is that the presentation, Chase, essentially?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, the floor is open to questions. Yes,
Jared
sir.
Opioid, I think it's a great idea, Chase. But one question with Nagog Pond being Concord's water supply, are there going to be keep-out zones, or are they going to put up fences, or how is that going to work?
What wouldn't be allowed is like swimming from this parcel into Nagog Pond. It also, because this is a water supply, we want to think very carefully about our invasive species management practices. But to be honest, we already do that across town, whether we're working in Nagog or we're working in Spectacle Pond or somewhere else. So all of that is pretty standard. The only major difference would be probably no swimming off of this. But frankly, if you look at the property, it's not well set up for that, even if you wanted to.
So it's not like you got to stay out of the pond and so many feet back.
What we would probably not want to do is essentially create a moral hazard and build trails right down to the water.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard regarding Article 14? If not, we can proceed to a vote, keeping in mind it requires a 2/3 majority because it involves an interest in land. So we're going to set up another 20-second voting period. Green for yes, red for no, and the period starts now. Okay. Close the vote. Thank you. And there were 163 in favor and 12 opposed. The motion passes by the necessary two-thirds majority. I declare it a vote. Thank you very much. Okay. We now move to Articles 15, 16, and 17, all of which are zoning amendments, so they require two-thirds majority. And Article 15, you see in your town meeting report, it's been moved and seconded by the planning board that the town vote to approve Article 15 as printed in the warrant. And you can see in the warrant there are strike-throughs and certain bolded and underlined language, and those are the changes to the existing bylaw. Is there a representative of the planning board here that can report on the public hearing, public process? Yes, Mr. Baker.
Yes. Darrell Baker, Planning Board. I got a few charts here just to walk you through the, make sure I'm talking the right way, walk you through the articles here today. So the purpose of the first one, Article 15, is to reduce the number of adult-use marijuana cultivators, the grow sites, to zero.
Can I stop you for just a second? I'd like you to give me the report on the planning board's public hearing and their vote.
Okay.
Before you give your
Sure.
presentation? Yes.
The planning board held a public hearing on this proposed zoning bylaw amendment on Thursday, March 13th, 2025, and voted unanimously to recommend it to town meeting. This article was discussed at several planning board meetings and select board meetings of March 24th. Additional details are posted on the town website.
Okay, thank you.
So the motivation for this was concern raised by citizens on the smells, particularly from the cultivation site. The process is the planning board public hearing, which I reported on. It requires a two-thirds majority town meeting vote, and it requires a simple majority town ballot vote. So this is a two-part article. Tonight sets up the first part of it, and then it'll be on the ballot at town elections. Next chart, please. Currently, the current bylaw allows for one of each of those types in 2 retail sales. The current conditions, we have 1 existing cultivator in town and 1 retail sales place site. The proposed bylaw will bring the adult use cultivator down to 0, so it will be basically prohibiting any future cultivators. And the current cultivator will be a pre-existing non-conforming use, i.e. they'd be grandfathered until they gave up their license for it. So it has no impact to the existing grow site in town. For those that wanted to see the detailed changes, here's the strike-throughs of the things and the wording changes that just update the numbering and pieces on that. And then process-wise, the fall town meeting, we brought the bylaw down to reduce the number to the number that was the state minimums there. This brings them down to 0. We had the various planning board meetings in January, February, March, and April 3rd. March was the public hearing. We also presented at a select board meeting to discuss this here. So that was sort of the background of how we got here for tonight. And tonight requires a 2/3 majority vote, and then it will require a passing at the ballot there. And it was moved and seconded by the planning board that the town vote to approve Article 15 as printed. If there's any questions, we can entertain them.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I'm reminded that that ballot question is on this Saturday's ballot, just so that you know, the May 10th ballot. Is there anyone who wishes to speak with regard to Article 15? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mitt Wanzer, 39 Mill Road. I recall back in the fall when, by our previous town meeting vote, we brought the number down to 1 for micro micro business, a marijuana micro business. And at the time, it struck me that there was a reaction against the poorly handled permitting process or the execution of the permit by the cultivator that is the one current grower in Littleton. And, you know, the dissatisfaction with folks led people to say that this is intolerable, so therefore we're punishing other potential business owners by not punishing them, but reducing the risk to the town of something that's poorly managed and that's and not well executed at the current site. So at the time, my feelings for that was, well, that's too bad, because a micro business sounds like a possible antidote to the problem at hand. There's something that's grossly offensive to the neighbors, and it's just too big and too smelly or whatever. So maybe the micro business would be the antidote. And I thought sympathetically of small business people and farmers that might be able to do that. And I thought it a shame that we're down to one opportunity for a grower to make their business and livelihood in Littleton. So I think it's therefore a shame that we're now at the point where we're reacting and throwing and saying not only that, but the current grower, the one permit holder, once their permit is expired or they give up, that we're not amenable or open or welcoming at all. And I heard in the presentation no reference to any of the pros or any of the benefits possible to having Littleton be a member of all those in the Commonwealth, all those towns that are supportive of businesses. So we're basically seeding all sorts of opportunity for future growers, for livelihood, for the marijuana industry to have a place in Littleton. We're seeding that to every other town in the Commonwealth and saying, well, we ruined it with one poorly done permit by a cultivator that people apparently don't like, so we're just gonna have a little protocol tantrum and strike through everything and have it just be 0, 0, 0. So I think it would be a shame to support this article. I say support small farms, greenhouses, and growers. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I think, seeing no one in line, I think we're ready to proceed to a vote, and keeping in mind that this is a zoning bylaw amendment, requires a 2/3 majority for passage. So for the next 20 seconds, please indicate either yes or no, whether you support the zoning bylaw amendment or you do not, which will be the no vote. Okay. Close voting, please. Thank you. All right. There are 89 votes in favor, 81 opposed. The 2/3 majority is not achieved, and the zoning amendment fails. Thank you. Moving on to Article 16. Mr. Baker, if you would again give the report to the town meeting of the planning board and the result of the public hearing, then you can give your presentation. Thank you.
The planning board held a public hearing on this proposed zoning bylaw amendment on March 13th, 2025, and voted to recommend it to town meeting. Additional public discussions were held at various planning board and select board meetings, and detailed information is available and linked on the planning board website. This one here is basically some administrative corrections. Here we updated the marijuana bylaw at the 2024 fall town meeting. There was a 3-part clause. Only the first clause got updated with the words "or MTC." This is basically a clerical correction to add "or MTC" to the other 2 subsections of the bylaw. And then I think this is just requires a 2/3 vote at town meeting. These are the extent of the entire changes. It adds to sections 2 and 3 of 173-200J.2 the words "or MTC" in those two sections. MTC is a medical marijuana treatment center, is the acronym there. Section 1 already had included the "or MTC." This is a summary of the history of, as we worked through this amendment here. January, February, March, we held various meetings, and in April, and we also met with the select board in March on that. If there's any questions, I'll feel free to entertain them.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Before we move to a vote, yes, well, hang on a second, Jerry. Just like to give the motion moved and seconded by the planning board that the town vote to approve Article 16 as printed in the warrant. Thank you. Go ahead, Jerry.
How does this tie in with the Board of Health's ability to control odors? I mean, shouldn't they be the lead on this?
This has nothing to do with odors. This is just merely a clerical correction to another subsection in the bylaw.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll proceed to a vote on the motion for Article 16 as read. Please indicate by pressing the green button for yes and the red button for no over the next 20 seconds. The vote is open. Okay. Voting is now closed. And there were 134 in favor, 15 opposed. Article passes by the necessary 2/3 majority, and I declare it a vote. Thank you very much. Moving on to Article 17. Again, Mr. Baker, if you'd report on the planning board's process with
The
respect to
planning
public
board held.
hearing.
The planning board held a public hearing on the proposed bylaw, zoning bylaw amendment on Thursday, March 13th, 2025, and voted unanimously to recommend it to town meeting. Article is discussed at several planning board meetings and the select board meeting of March 24th. I just want to make one point here. We can entertain questions on this, but we can't really entertain any motions to change any of the text of it, as most of it's been depicted by FEMA and what the exact wording needs to be. We can entertain any administrative typographical corrections for it. The purpose of this zoning bylaw update is to update our flood plan bylaw to reflect the new FEMA flood zone maps that have come out there. And the motivation behind it is to keep Littleton in the National Flood Insurance Program. If we don't pass this bylaw, people that need flood insurance won't qualify for the FEMA program. The process is this: we did a public hearing on this, and this requires a 2/3 majority town meeting vote. And there's a little bit of unfortunately, it's very difficult. They give us maps. So you have to look up individual parcels to see exactly where the changes were. The bulk of the changes were in these floodplain panel changes here. And I think on the website we have the link to the GIS site that has the detailed maps all the way down to the parcel level. And this is just an example of what one of those parcel maps would look like. And everybody supports passing it, because again, the consequence is if we don't pass it, the people that require flood insurance will not be able to get FEMA flood insurance. And that could have significant consequences to the people that are affected by that. And as I mentioned at the beginning, this is the process that we went through for it. So again, This is mainly, the purpose of this is to adopt the language and the updated floodplain maps from FEMA so that everybody that requires a flood insurance can get it. If there's any questions, I'll do my best to entertain them.
Okay, thank you. And again, it's moved and seconded by the planning board that the town vote to approve Article 17 as printed in the warrant. Seeing no one in line to speak to the article, we can proceed to a vote. And all those in favor, the motion is read, please signify by selecting green button number 1, and those opposed, red button number 2. And the voting period is now open. Thank you. Close. Yep. Okay. 143 votes in favor, 6 opposed. The zoning bylaw amendment passes by the necessary 2/3 majority. I declare it a vote. Thank you very much. We'll now move forward to articles because we've already had taken a vote on 18 and 19 under the consent agenda. To Article 20, to authorize the transfer of funds from the Capital Stabilization Fund to purchase and equip a new fire engine. And it's been moved and seconded by the Select Board that the town vote to approve Article 20 as printed in the warrant. And you'll see that the Finance Committee and Select Board both recommend this article. I know the fire chief is here and he's dying to speak to this if you've got a question. If not, it's fairly straightforward. We can proceed to the vote. Okay. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by pushing green for yes, red for no over the next 20 seconds during the voting period. Thank you. Okay, we'll close voting. Okay, there are 137 in favor, 6 opposed. The motion passes by the required majority vote, and I declare it a vote. Thank you very much. We now leap forward to Article 26, which is the the Community Preservation Committee's budget for 2026. And it has been moved and seconded by the Select Board that the town vote to approve Article 26 as printed in the warrant. I'll recognize the chair of the CPC, Carolyn Mueller.
Good evening, Carolyn Mueller, East Roxbury Drive. We've already voted on Article 25 through the consent calendar, and I appreciate the support for that. So we'll move to Article 26. As usual, the first part of this article accomplishes a number of things. There are four things included in this. First is to allocate the 1% real estate surcharge, which we all contribute through our property taxes for fiscal year 26. To allocate the blended funds or the town contribution that we voted in on Article 25. It will also allocate the estimated state match, which we'll receive in November of 2025, which is based on the revenue we collect for fiscal year 25 ending June 30th, 2025. The Department of Revenue has asked us to estimate this at 15.9%. That could either be higher or lower when we get the final figure in November. We are also requesting approval of payments of the debt service. So the allocations are all added together. The chart that's up on the screen now reflects what you see in the article, believe it or not. This year, the CPC has voted different allocation percentages for both the surcharge and the state match. So we're estimating the 1% surcharge, and this is very conservative, at $417,829. That's the money collected through the property tax. The blended funds, which again is the Article 25, which the town has voted to take from free cash and put it in for future projects, is $307,346. So that's $725,175 that we will have in revenue. So the first, it actually says 1% surcharge. It should also say blended funds. These are the percentages that we voted in to allocate that $725,000. 40% for open space, 18% for the historic reserve, 20% for community housing, 21% for recreation, and 1% for administration. The administration is, we rarely use it all, and at the end of the fiscal year, it gets put back into the general bucket. The estimated state match is we're $70,489, which again is a very conservative figure. Hopefully, the estimated state match, we do a little bit different in the allocation, 30% to open space, 15% to each of the historic, community housing, and recreation buckets, and then the rest of it we leave. You don't see that in your article because it's just deposited to the CPA. It's not allocated, it's just annotated. The next is the debt service. As you see, I think it's items 2 and 3 in the article. We're still paying on 3 open space projects, the Yap property, Cobb and Williams property, and also on the Houghton building roof replacement. So it's $65,615 in debt service, and you can see we're still paying on those for a few more years. So that's the top half. If we go to the bottom half, these are the projects. And I'll just go through them quickly, and then if it's okay with the moderator, if there are any specific questions, I think all the applicants are still here and can answer to these. So the next slide. We have a number of historic projects. The Houghton Memorial Building door restoration is to have the front arch doors completely rehabilitated. West Lawn Gravestone is to continue that project up at West Lawn. We have a 1739 Officers Commission of Jonathan Whitcomb's that's severely damaged, to have that repaired. The 12 Robinson Road funding is for a historic preservation consultant to assist the Historical Commission with setting up the historic preservation deed compliance for 12 Robinson Road. Nagog Hill Orchard is for historic inventory survey work and to develop a historic preservation on potential properties at the orchard. Durkee Farmhouse, which is at 260 Foster Street, again working with the Historical Society to develop an RFP and preservation restriction potentially for the Durkee Farmhouse. Open space projects, there are 2. Eco-harvesting for Lake Mattawanakie, which is a combination of projects geared toward the health of Lake Mattawanakie, including a plant survey for invasives and eco-harvesting on the Littleton part of the lake. The Long Lake Frog Pond, which is on Lakeshore Drive, we're going to have an engineered study to conduct, to determine how to improve, no, wrong one, sorry. Assessment and development of a plan to remove invasive plants at the Frog Pond. On the next slide, 2 recreation projects. One is the Speck Pond boat launch, to have an engineering study to determine how to improve the boat launch at Speck Pond. The Long Lake dock replacement is to update the dock in the center of the lake and replace the fishing dock. This is similar to a project we did last year. It's kind of phase 2. For CPC, the vote was contingent on the Park and Rec Department addressing off-season storage of the docks. Previously, they're located in areas that blocks the signage that informs people that the boat ramp users of laws involving stopping the spread of nuisance aquatic plants and animals and the flotation devices. This was addressed because of citizen concern. The committee agreed with it, and we'll work with Park and Rec on that. The Affordable Housing Trust this year is continuing their rental assistance program. They are increasing the number of potential applicants, so their budget is a little bit higher this year, and they do have funds left over from last year to add to it. And the final project is more walkway improvements at the Long Lake Frog Pond. This is to replace the 20-year-old walkway that goes through the pond, the little retention pond, including a durable surface that's ADA compliant. And both of the Frog Pond projects are part of an overall project which is undertaken by Highway and the Conservation Commission. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And I should note that the motion here should read that it's moved and seconded by the Community Preservation Committee that the town vote to approve Article 26 as printed in the warrant. And I guess we're ready to go to a vote on that. So all those in favor indicate by voting yes, and those opposed voted no, and the voting period begins now. Okay, let's close the voting period and see what the results were. 139 votes in favor and 2 opposed. The motion passes by the necessary majority. I declare it a vote. Thank you very much. We'll now move forward once again to Article 31. And you'll recall that the Select Board was not going to make a motion here. There are no collective bargaining agreements to fund here at town meeting. So no motion will be offered. Madam Clerk, please indicate no affirmative action was taken on Article 31. And moving forward then to Article 32, creation of a new special purpose stabilization fund, a salary stabilization fund. It requires a 2/3 majority because it is a new fund. And it's been moved and seconded by the Select Board that the town vote to approve Article 32 as printed in the warrant, and the Finance Committee and Select Board recommend this article. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to Article 32? Board, anyone? If no takers at this point. You can see the writing on the wall. Okay, we'll enter into our voting period for the next 20 seconds. It requires a 2/3 majority. So please indicate yes if you're in favor of that motion that was just read, and no if you are not. And the vote is open now. Okay, voting's closed, and the results are 127 votes in favor, 11 opposed. The motion passes by the necessary 2/3 majority, and I declare it a vote. Thank you very much. And then we'll move forward to, that was 32, so we're on to 33 now, which is an amendment to the town personnel bylaw. It's a general bylaw amendment. It requires only a majority vote. It's been moved and seconded by the Select Board to approve Article 33 as printed in the warrant. I'm going to recognize Michelle Vibert, the town's HR Director, for the presentation. Michelle?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, everyone. Michelle Vibert, Human Resources Director of the town. Article 33 discusses proposed personnel bylaw amendments. There are 2 documents that govern employment practices and policies within the HR department. A personnel bylaw is really the overarching policies. It's really the legal framework for the practices for employment and policies. It cannot change without a town meeting vote, hence the article in front of you tonight. The employee handbook is really governing the day-to-day operations in the department for those employment practices and procedures. This can be changed by a select board vote. Next slide, please. In 2021, there was a comprehensive revision of the existing personnel bylaw. At that time, some bylaw content was moved to a newly established employee handbook, and the Personnel Board was replaced with the Personnel Advisory Committee. Over the last several months, the HR department has worked with the Personnel Advisory Committee to revise the personnel bylaw. So what's the reason for these personnel bylaw amendments? Personnel bylaws should be reviewed and updated periodically to ensure compliance with laws and regulations, provide clarity and consistency, reflect best practices, and respond to changes in the workplace. Next slide, please. So the intent of all of the proposed changes in front of you is really to organize language, consolidate concepts, clarify roles for the Personnel Advisory Committee, address current recruitment and retention needs, and prepare for adoption of a new class and comp plan with the class and compensation study that we are conducting currently. So in front of you, I decided to spare you a 20-minute presentation and did not want to go through all of the 396 amendments that are proposed. So there's just highlights here for you to see, but again, it goes back to the intent that I just explained on the prior slide. And with that, I will take any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone has any questions for Michelle or wants to speak to the amendment in general? It is a town bylaw. The personnel bylaw requires a majority to amend here at town meeting. Is there anyone? Yes, sir. Please come forward.
Charles Howell, 564 Newtown Road. My only question is, why is everything in the table of contents scratched out?
Okay. Get an answer for you.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Moderator, to the previous speaker. The table of contents is more of an administrative feature. It's really not something that should be brought in front of town meeting. It could change at any time with page numbers and titles of the categories, so we leave it as administrative.
Okay. Very good. Anyone else before we move to a vote? Okay, we're going to move to another voting period, 20 seconds. And all those in favor of the bylaw amendment as read, please signify by pressing the green button. No is the red button. And the voting period is now open for you. Okay. Close the vote. And there were 122 votes in favor, 8 opposed. Bylaw passes by the necessary majority, simple majority in this case. And I declare it a vote. Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of tonight's warrant. And before I entertain a motion to dissolve, I'd just like to thank you. Send a thank you to the town clerk and her team. The town administrator and assistant town administrator, school department, and LCTV for their assistance with preparing for this meeting, and special best of luck to departing assistant town administrator Ryan Ferrara. Best of luck in your next assignment. We've enjoyed working with you here. Is there a motion to dissolve? All right, second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, this annual town meeting is hereby dissolved and we stand adjourned.